हसतो सकमया तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमया मृत्योर्मामृतं गमया ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Hello everyone, happy Pi Day to one and all. Actually, this is so exciting. So, to someone who is interested in mathematics, Pi Day is definitely a special day. And I am so sure that everyone here is also thinking the same way, and that's why they have come here. Okay, so the best thing is this is the 11th national webinar of Maths Aspirants. So the Pi Day celebration and the 11th national webinar is like a coincidence here. And if I say about Maths Aspirants, I know most of you have a good idea about Maths Aspirants. Some of you are part of it. Some of you already enjoyed some of the benefits, or maybe really working hard for the developing of the community. So to whoever who is related to Maths Aspirants, know that this is something special, and this is a best community to develop our interest and everything that is related to mathematics. Okay. So this 11th national webinar is part of Math Ecstasy, an online odyssey through mathematics. And this is a national webinar series organized by Maths Aspirants Group. Okay, so now about Maths Aspirants. Okay, this is so exciting that the Maths Aspirant Group was once a Maths WhatsApp group. Okay, in 2017, our beloved Vinod Kumar sir thought about starting a Maths WhatsApp group and named it Maths Aspirants. So that time it was supposed to discuss maths problems and prepare for upcoming exams, and a very few number of students were joined that time. But now this is not just a maths WhatsApp group. It's many WhatsApp groups plus online communities, Google groups, and if we check, we can see there are lots of history in making so many problem solving sessions and webinar series and test series, expert talks, and also preparation for various premier exams of national level. And so much things are happening in Maths Aspirant Groups now. So it's not just in the hands of Vinod Kumar sir now. It's been like shared now, and so many people are working for it. But um, we are like really growing these times. So I would like to say this Pi Day is going to be like more glowing with all these celebrations. So everyone who is here, who thought about spending some time to celebrate something related to mathematics on Pi Day, um, will not regret this webinar. So we have a wonderful speaker here, Professor Geetha Venkataraman, and we are so proud that the topic she chose for Pi Day is Women in Mathematics, Progress via Challenges. And I am so excited to hear this enlightening talk as everyone here. And we will have a great introduction for our speaker from Professor Ambat Vijaykumar sir, who is also giving us a gracious presence here, and he's an emeritus professor in CUSAT. Okay, so Vinod Kumar sir, we are so thankful to you for organizing these events, and we are so blessed for having someone who is taking care of the mathematic development. We are so interested in mathematics, but every time we won't have an opportunity to develop our skills or enlarge our contacts. So these groups are actually working as a great platform for having so many contacts. And if we have a problem, yeah, sometimes there is a solution from this group. That's the best part. That's the best thing about this family. So thank you, Vinod Kumar sir. And yeah, I forgot. Vinod Kumar sir is an associate professor in mathematics from TMG College, Tirur, Kerala. And also, we have all these programs recorded and published in a YouTube channel of Dr. Bijumon sir. The channel name is Bijumon R. You can always check all these videos and all the programs that has already occurred with maths aspirants. And Bijumon sir is our technical pillar. He is also so important to maths aspirant groups. And now, and also I would like to mention that now the group, the family is having members from all over India and also participation from around the world. This is not a small thing, it's a big deal. And we have now people like Unnati Shukla, I can see her. She made the promo of the program. It was wonderful. And we have so many people dedicated to do something for this family. And about dedication, it's not something that we do for our own benefit. It's something we do for everyone's benefit and well-being, and also we grow. So being said that, I would like to welcome Dr. Vinod Kumar sir for enlightening us with his words, and welcome everyone into this program. Thank you so much.
Dear friends, Friday greetings to everyone. Hearty welcome to the 11th National Webinar in the Math Ecstasy webinar series organized by Maths Aspirants Groups. Today, on this auspicious Friday, we are honored and blessed to present our distinguished speaker, Professor Geetha Venkataraman of Ambedkar University, Delhi, to deliver an expert talk on women in mathematics, progress via challenges. I am indebted to Professor Geetha for accepting our invitation and joining with us. I am sure that she will bring a wealth of knowledge and insight to the issue of gender differences in mathematics. Dear friends, let us celebrate this Friday evening together with a great academic discussion. Once again, I welcome everyone to this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vinod sir. Now I would like to welcome Professor Ambat Vijay Kumar sir, Emeritus Professor, CUSAT, and he will be giving us a nice introduction for our chief guest, Professor Geetha Venkataraman. Welcome, sir.
Okay, good evening to all of you. It's always a pleasure to introduce my good old friend, Dr. Geetha Venkataraman, who has been in Ambedkar University for several years now. He is basically a group theorist, and after his bachelor's program in mathematics at St. Stephen's College, University of Delhi, she moved to get a BA degree honors in mathematics from University of Oxford, and doctorate degree and DPhil is from the University of Oxford. As I said, her basic mathematical interest is in group theory, and a lot of articles and books have been written, authored by her. And above all, she's an active member of the forum popularizing issues related to women in mathematics. And she was a member of the Executive Committee of Indian Women and Mathematics, sponsored by the National Board for Higher Mathematics. And we know each other since many, many years. So, in fact, one or two lines about the program or the project that Dr. Vinod Kumar and his team of dedicated research scholars from all over Kerala and India is doing for the past several years. It's very clear that now we have got about 112 participants attending this program, even in an evening. That shows the popularity of this project. And as Vinod Kumar rightly pointed out, we have members from, it started as a small WhatsApp group. Now it is a email group with so many people from different countries. Apart from today being the 14th day of March, this day is otherwise significant with at least 2 points. It's also the birthday of great Nobel laureate Albert Einstein. Also the birthday of the greatest communist leader Karl Marx, who wrote the Das Kapital. So it's a very precious day for us in many, many ways. And a great pleasure to invite Geetha Venkataraman to say something about the challenges that women in India or in general has for doing science or mathematics. I wrote an article about pi in 2007 in Malayalam Madhrubhumi paper, which says about the Rayleigh triangle and such things, which motivated the definition of pi apart from the usual circumference by diameter. Okay, so welcome, Dr. Geetha, and we're all looking forward to hear you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
So thanks, Arjuna, for you've really conducted it so well. I mean, I think you've got a great skill at that. And Dr. Vinod Kumar, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this event. And from what I can see, I think it's very, very difficult to sustain a group or a bunch of people who have come together with mathematics at the core. But for so many years, if people are joining in and continuing to join in, that is something commendable. And so I congratulate you for starting such a group and for being able to maintain it. And thank you so much, Professor Vijay Kumar, for such a nice introduction that you gave. As he mentioned, we've known each other for many years, and I always look forward to, he sends me many of the articles that he writes, and I enjoy getting, in the morning, suddenly I'll have a message from Professor Vijay Kumar with, some thought for the day or, what he's written and so on. So it's a pleasure for me to be part of this event. And as there are 111 participants at 7:15 in the evening on a Thursday, when the next day is a working day for everybody. So I'm very, very grateful that people are attending this talk. My idea is to talk a little bit about one of my favorite women mathematicians, Emmy Noether. So I'll start with her life, and then let's, so this was at the turn of the last century. So 19th, 20th century is when Emmy's life plays out. And what I wanted to do was to contrast what she went through to what is the scenario now, and what is the way forward for all of us. Because at the end of the day, we do not want anyone who has the potential to do maths not to have the opportunity to do maths and succeed, whether it is a woman or a man. So the idea with this talk is, of course, to also look at the special problems that many of the women face when they're trying to do mathematics, not just in our country, but all over the world. So with that, I will start my presentation now. Okay, so to start off with, I put some pictures of women mathematicians, and I hope during the course of this talk, I will tell you something about them. Of course, as I said, I'm going to focus primarily on Emmy Noether, but please notice Ingrid Dubashi. I will be saying just some little bit about her later on, and Parimala, who's one of the foremost women mathematicians from India. In the next slide, I have Sujata and Nina again. They are amongst the top women mathematicians in India, and Mariam. So a little bit about all of these people will come up during the talk, but we are going to start with Emmy. And so this is a picture of Emmy when she was a young woman. her year of birth is 1882, and she dies when she was 53 years old in 1935. And these are some anecdotes from her life, and it's a kind of pictorial biography. And of course, I've just picked some elements from Emmy's life. In this talk, I have not put I've not talked about the details of her mathematics, because the talk is about issues of women in mathematics. And but I think anyone who's done algebra will know of Emmy Noether, and physicists also think of Emmy Noether as one of their own. There's a very important theorem on conservation of energy and symmetry that physicists know her for. So let's start with her life. What you are seeing is a 2 feet by 12 feet long post. Sorry, I think I pressed the wrong button. Just give me a second.
Sure, ma'am.
What you are seeing is a 2 feet by 12 feet long poster titled Men of Modern Mathematics, commissioned by IBM in 1961. It is a mathematical timeline poster starting from about 1000 AD till 1950 AD, with historical and biographical items and many, many pictures. It is aptly titled Men of Modern Mathematics, as the only woman entrant in this poster is Emmy Noether. So this was a
Sorry
post.
to interrupt, ma'am.
Yeah.
Sorry. Are you presenting right now?
Yeah. Okay. So
Okay.
it disappeared, is it?
Disappeared. Right, ma'am.
Sorry about that. Okay, let's see. Hopefully this will come up again. What
Okay.
you are seeing is a 2 feet by 12 feet long poster titled
Yes.
Men of Modern Mathematics, commissioned by IBM in 1961. It is a mathematical timeline poster starting from about 1000 AD till 1950 AD, with historical and biographical items and many, many pictures. It is aptly titled Men of Modern Mathematics, as the only woman entrant in this poster is Emmy Noether. So this was, if you went to old departments, I mean, as in maths departments, which have been there for in the 1960s, definitely, many of them have this poster which they would put up on the wall, and it was called Men of Modern Mathematics. And it was supposed to be like I mean, it's a long poster, but the idea was that it would have an immediate reckoner for who were all the mathematicians, what did they do, their pictures, tiny little write-ups about each of them. And so in that entire period of over 1,000 odd years, what you find is that there's only one woman who's mentioned, and that was Emmy Noether. And in fact, this is a picture of the write-up on Noether in that timeline poster, and you can see we also have Ramanujan there. But what did it actually say about Emmy? This is what it said. It said that Emmy Noether, daughter of the mathematician Max, was often called der Noether, as if she were a man. So in German, when you address this DER is used like a neuter gender or as a masculine this thing. So the point is that even though she was a very well-known mathematician and she made it to the poster which was describing mathematics of the last 1,000 years, she still did not have a proper job. She was in the University of Göttingen for many years, but her association with the university was informal. She was never formally appointed, and that's what it says. Her Göttingen professorship carried no salary, and ℕ𝕒𝕠𝕗, who was one of the greatest mathematicians of his time, had to fight to get her, a woman, to even be allowed to associate with the university at all. So let's see how what happens in her life. She was born in 1882 to Max and Ida Noether, and she has 3 younger brothers. Max was a mathematician, and one of her brothers, Fritz, also became a mathematician. The photograph on the right is a shopping center, but this was the building in which Emmy actually was born in Erlangen, in the city called Erlangen in Germany in 1882. So the point is that because her father was a mathematician and she also aspired to do mathematics after she finished school. So if you look at what Erlangen, so this is a painting of what Erlangen looked like in 1916, and on the right is a picture of what it looked like in 2008. And on the left is an origin, when Emmy was studying in school, that's how it looked. And currently this is how it looks. I don't think it's a school any longer, but Emmy basically studied here. And so she finishes school at the age of 18. And at that time, so she was born in 1882, and so by 1900, she's finished school. At that point, women were not admitted to universities. The law in Germany prevented women from joining a university. And this was pretty much so in many parts of the world. Some parts, they had already started admitting women, but not yet in Germany. So what would women typically do if they had finished school? Typically, they would be allowed to join a training institution where they could train to be a school teacher. So that was all that was kind of open to women. But Emmy wanted to study mathematics at the University of Erlangen, which was her hometown. And as I said, they did in universities in Germany, did not admit girls to degrees at that time. In fact, women were only allowed to audit courses if professors gave them permission. So you had to go and ask the professor, can I sit in your class? And often the professors said no, because they felt that the women students were either not serious or that they were going to distract the men in the class and so on. But ultimately, Emmy does get permission to audit the courses. And in the entire university, she and 1 other woman are the only ones allowed to attend courses. Luckily, by 1904, so within 4 years, the laws changed and it allowed Emmy to actually formally register in the university. And she, in fact, completes a PhD by 1907 from the University of Erlangen. And the area she's worked in is an area called invariant theory. Now, within 8 years, by 1915, Emmy had established herself as a mathematician and was invited to the University of Göttingen by Hilbert and Klein. So at that time, Göttingen was the mecca for mathematics. It was the place where Hilbert was there, Klein was there, other very well-known mathematicians were a part of University of Göttingen. And so when Emmy is invited, she goes to Göttingen. So here are some pictures of the University of Göttingen. And in the middle bottom is what the Mathematical Institute in Göttingen looked like when Emmy went there. And we have pictures of David Hilbert and Felix Klein as well. And Hilbert, I mean, many of you might be aware that at the turn of the century, that is in the 1900s, in one of the International Congress of Mathematicians, Hilbert gives this talk where he describes a set of problems which he feels are the ones that are going to occupy mathematicians in the coming decades. And even now, many of those problems are not solved. And so whenever people refer to those problems, they will refer to it by the numbering that Hilbert gave. And Felix Klein was someone who was extremely interested not just in research in mathematics, but also how mathematics should be taught. So he's one of the people who's written about how mathematics should be taught at levels below the university as well. So Emmy goes to Göttingen in 1915, and she's there from 1915 to 1933. And by then she's regarded as one of the best mathematicians at Göttingen, but Emmy was never given a regular job. So even though in 1904 they allow women to study formally in universities, they're still not willing to give women teaching jobs, or they don't admit them to be part of the university. And in fact, David Hilbert and Landau and others try their level best to reason with the university that, you have to give her a job. She is a fantastic mathematician. People from all over the world are coming to meet her to learn mathematics from her, but, she doesn't have a job. And they just don't succeed. In fact, Hilbert is so frustrated. So this is arguably the best mathematician in the world, and he's frustrated that his university will not give Emmy Noether a job, and because she's a woman. So he says, this is what he says: I do not see that the sex of the candidate is an argument against her admission as a privata docent. The privata docent is basically an unpaid lecturer. You're formally on the rolls, but you're not paid. After all, we are a university. We are not a bathing establishment that women and men have to be segregated. So this is what he says. And to be part of the university, you have to be admitted to the Senate. And in fact, the Senate of Göttingen University, there was a debate as to whether Emmy Noether should be admitted to the Senate. During this, they asked Edmund Landau whether he thought Emmy was a great woman mathematician. This is Edmund Landau. And this is what he says. Landau replied, I can testify that she's a great mathematician, but that she's a woman, I cannot swear. So, I think he was frustrated at the idea that, you want to talk about her as a great woman mathematician when she's just such a great mathematician. But I'm not sure in this era, if he made a statement like this, it would be well received. But the point is that all of these people wanted Emmy to be part of the university formally, and they just could not succeed. Indeed, as I said, Göttingen was the mecca of mathematics. And at Göttingen, Emmy was part of a team which was carrying out calculations of a very difficult kind. And I hope you recognize this picture. This is of a young Albert Einstein. Emmy jokingly said that none of them knew what they were though. But basically, Einstein was working on theory of relativity, and the mathematicians in Göttingen were working on the mathematics required for the theory of relativity. So by the time she actually had to leave Göttingen in 1933, Emmy had carved for herself a reputation as an outstanding mathematician and abstract algebraist. Despite efforts by Hilbert, she could only hold honorary posts without salary. What Hilbert would do is that the lecture courses would be assigned to him, and then instead of him, Emmy would go and lecture there. And people really wanted to learn from her because she was doing extraordinary, she was bringing in techniques to do mathematics which were all pervasive. In fact, Emmy went on to supervise 12 doctoral students, many of whom went on to become professors and hold posts higher than her own. She also influenced a large number of mathematicians who came in contact with her, and this set of mathematicians were generally referred to as Noether's boys. And here are three of them: Van der Waerden, Richard Brouwer, Emil Arting, were all people whom Emmy Noether influenced. In 1933, anti-Jewish laws were passed by the German government. And while Emmy's family was not practicing Jews, they had Jewish blood. And therefore, she lost even her honorary position at the University of Göttingen. And at that time, she got the offer of a visiting professorship at Bryn Mawr, a women's college in the United States of America. So she moves in 1933 to the United States. And in Bryn Mawr, she adapts very quickly. There are 4 women students in the mathematics department. One of them she supervises for a PhD, and she also lectures at the newly established Institute of Advanced Studies at Princeton, and she's interacting with mathematicians like Weyl, Veblen, and Brouwer. But within 2 years, by 1935, she passes away due to complications from an operation, and she was cremated. And this is a place in Bryn Mawr near the library cloister where there's a plaque, and an urn bearing the ashes was kept there. So Emmy, after her death, this is what people had to say about her. Shortly after her death, the Russian mathematician Alexandrov and Hoff wrote in the preface to their topology, which was published in Berlin in 1935, that Emmy Noether's general mathematical insights were not confined to her specialty algebra, but affected anyone who came in touch with her work. Indeed, Emmy herself expressed a similar thought in a letter that she wrote to the mathematician Helmut Haas in 1931. She wrote, "My methods are really methods of working and thinking. This is why they have crept in everywhere anonymously." So the kind of abstract algebra techniques that Emmy had come up with, those who studied further algebra will know about Noetherian rings. And so the kind of things that she did, they started influencing lots of other disciplines because of the force, the theoretical force they represented. And indeed, when she died, this is what she had by then contributed greatly to abstract algebra and also to theoretical physics. She had influenced and mentored many great mathematicians and had worked with the foremost mathematicians of her time. On her death, Albert Einstein wrote a commentary honoring Emmy Noether in the New York Times on 5th May 1935. In the commentary, he says of Emmy Noether, "In the realm of algebra, in which the most gifted of mathematicians have been busy for centuries, she discovered methods which have proved of enormous importance in the development of the present day younger generation of mathematicians." So that's how influential she was. But remember that for most of her life, so she was 53 when she died, and even up to her 50s, she could not hold a job in any of the universities in Germany. Now, what is the scenario? Oh, finally, there's a poem written by her by Joanne Groney, who does a lot of maths related poems. And this is an excerpt from it. And the poem is called "My Dance is Mathematics." It says, these are a few of the lines: "They called you der Noether as if mathematics was only for men. in 1964, nearly 30 years past your death, I saw you in a spotlight in a World's Fair mural, Men of Modern Mathematics. Colleagues praised your brilliance, but after they had called you fat and plain, rough and loud. So this is a poem written on Emmy Noether. And you can see from her life that she was someone who was dedicated to mathematics. She didn't particularly care about her appearance. She lived for mathematics. And she was someone, the point is that because she was a woman, people did comment about her appearance. Whereas if it had been a man who, you don't find any mention about how the male mathematicians were dressed or what they looked like or how they conducted themselves. It's only their mathematics which speaks for them. So this is already, I mean, you can see the kind of adversity she faced. She could not, despite being a mathematician of the highest order, she could never find a job in her home country. And once she moved to the United States, her life was cut short very quickly. What is the situation now? Now, of course, much larger number of women than previously take science subjects. There's no problem for women to go to universities. They get regular academic appointments and other jobs that were previously open only to men. And in fact, several women have received highest awards in their fields and contributed immensely and also held leadership positions. But the scenario is not, I mean, so on the one hand, if you compare to what was there at the turn of the century, the 19th-20th century, you will find that today there is an immense amount of progress that has been made. But still, the number of women that you see in high positions or getting awards or in leadership positions or in professorships is extremely small. So let's investigate this further. But before we go into that, this is Mariam Mirzakhani, and she was the first woman to win a Fields Medal. We have now 2 women who won the Fields Medal. The last one was given in the previous International Congress of Mathematicians. And I would urge all of you to look her up. She was a Ukrainian mathematician who got it for packing of sphere, Mariana Vyskova. And so if you want to know more about Mariam, because she had a short but wonderful life. She died soon after she got the Fields Medal. There's an article that Nikita Riddhi and I wrote in, this is in Resonance. Resonance is a journal of science education, which is brought out by the Indian Academy of Sciences, and it's distributed by Springer Verlag, and it's freely available. So if you just go to the website of the Indian Academy of Sciences, all the issues of Resonance are available there for anyone to look at. So this is it's an article which talks about her life and introduces her mathematics in a manner which should be accessible even to undergraduates. I also showed you pictures of 3 Indian women mathematicians, Parimala, Sujata, and Neena Gupta. I've also chosen them because they are the 3 women mathematicians who won the highest prize that we give in India, which is called the Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award. And so Parimala works in algebra. Her research uses tools from number theory, algebraic geometry, and topology. She's currently the Arts and Sciences Distinguished Professor of Mathematics at Emory University. And below, I've listed the kind of honors that Parimala has got. As early as 1984, she was an invited speaker in the International Congress of Mathematicians at Zurich. So only the best mathematicians across the world are invited to give talks there. And of course, the plenary talks are even more sought after, but the invited talks themselves are a huge honor. Emmy was one of the people who was invited to speak in the ICM as well. I think it was 1932, if I'm not mistaken. So Parimala, of course, is a fellow of the Indian Academy of Sciences, Indian National Science Academy. In 1987, she got the Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award and an honorary doctorate in 1999 from the University of Lausanne. She got the Srinivasa Ramanujan Birth Centenary Award in 2003, the TWAS Prize for Mathematics in 2005. She was elected Fellow of the American Mathematical Society in 2012. And as mentioned earlier, she was an invited speaker in the ICM in 1984. And in 2010, when India held the International Congress of Mathematicians at Hyderabad, she was a plenary speaker. And Sujata, in fact, her supervisor was Parimala. So Sujata, so there's a tradition which is coming down from Parimala. She's supervised many, many students who are all distinguished mathematicians, spread not just across India, but also across the world. And Sujata is an algebraic number theorist. She's known for her work on Iwasawa theory. She's a professor of mathematics and Canada research chair at University of British Columbia, Canada. She got the Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award in 2004, the ICTP Ramanujan Prize in 2006, the Krieger Nelson Prize in 2020, and in 2023, she was awarded the Padma Shri in the field of science and engineering. She was also part of the National Knowledge Commission, and both Parimala and Sujata actually studied their masters in mathematics and PhD after they had got married. And so that's something quite extraordinary, that most of their mathematical work happened post-marriage in their cases. And the youngest of them, of course, is Neena Gupta. She's currently a professor at the SMU unit of the Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata. And her primary fields of interest are commutative algebra and affine algebraic geometry. Again, she's got the Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award in 2019. She's a fellow of the Indian Academy of Sciences. She got the Nari Shakti Puraskar Award from the President of India. She's a fellow of the Indian National Academy, Science Academy, and she's the TWAS CAS Young Scientist Award for Mathematics and AI in 2023. So already she is doing extraordinary mathematics, and she actually proved something, a long-standing conjecture on cancellation, and she's doing extremely well. So let's come back. So we've looked at some of the women who've got awards, but let's come back to what the situation is right now in India and maybe across the world as well. What you do see are that there are low numbers at higher levels of study. Actually, this fact, this first question I've written, is not quite true. We'll see this later. I think in the last 10 years, we have made a lot of strides, particularly in India. But if you look across the world, it's still not true that there are higher number of women or a good number of women at higher levels of study in disciplines of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And you can ask, is it because of attitudes? Is it the societal pressure? Are there glass ceilings? Are there systemic issues? And let's see, let's try and gather information and look at the research that has been done to come to some idea about, and the way I see it, everything influences what is happening. And but to what extent? And when we want to try and move forward, what should we concentrate on? Because sometimes it's not possible to change everything all at once. So in the next slide, we are going to look at, this is a work done by Jayashree Subramaniam. She is currently, I think, with the SRM University in Andhra Pradesh. But this was a work that she did a couple of decades ago, where she interviewed women and men scientists in science establishments in Karnataka, in Bangalore, and areas around there. Okay, she asked them a series of questions, and what I'm presenting here are some conclusions, or these are things that people said to her during these interviews. Okay, so it's very interesting when you see what is being said. So this was when she interviewed male scientists. This is what they said. Girls do better in exams, but that is not because they understand science better, but because they are more studious. Boys have a better conceptual understanding. Some male scientists in an interview confessed that they had never thought of girls as bright or serious about academics until they came to institutions where they were working for their doctoral degree. So here's something that the women scientists said. To get a job, a woman will have to be exceptionally good. If one woman does not do well, it is used as an exclusionary mechanism towards women. This does not apply in the same way towards men. Taking on women students is sometimes seen as a waste of time and effort, as they are likely to get married, and increase in family responsibilities may mean that they will quit. The same criterion is not applied to men. So what's happening? What we have is a very, very leaky pipeline. If you look at the government data, so this is 1920, and what I've looked at is the 𝕖𝕕 data. 𝕖𝕕 is All India Survey of Higher Education, and the government publishes a report every year based on the survey. So it sends out questionnaires to universities across India, and everyone has to send back the data. Then they study the data and they put out a report. So what it shows is that if you look at the undergraduate science programs, there is gender parity. That is, it's the number of women, percentage of women is 50%. In fact, PG programs in mathematics, if you look across the country, have 63.9% of the students doing masters in mathematics are female. And in fact, the most promising of all this data is the fact that 46% of the students doing research in mathematics are women. Okay, so we've really improved massively. In fact, I taught at an undergraduate college for many years before I moved to Ambedkar University, Delhi. And, you know, I could see already in the last 10, I mean, towards the end of the 20th century that our classes were 50-50 in terms of women. And so I thought to myself, maybe it's only in urban cities like Delhi that you're finding this and so on. But from the data, it appears that this is a change that has happened across the country. The places where we are still lacking are technology. So if you look at BTech and technology and Bachelor of Engineering programs, there the percentage of women going into them is still much lower. It's not yet 50% even at that level. But what you see is, while the above data shows an improvement, especially over the last decade, the pipeline leaks a lot when it comes to the faculty positions and as you move higher up the academic ladder. Generally, in India, university mathematics departments would have about 30% women as faculty members, and very few are professors. The situation worsens progressively as we look at the statistics from Indian Institute of Technology, research institutes, Indian Statistical Institute, and the Indian Institute of Science. In IITs, about 20% or less of the faculty, so this is, I'm talking about the maths faculty here, are women. And generally, the percentage of women professors, again, is extremely low. In others, so from IITs, if you move to research institutes or you go to Indian Statistical Institutes and so on, you find that the percentage of women as faculty could be 0% also. That is, they have no women faculty members, and maximum, I mean, this was some years ago I looked at it, but I don't think this data would have changed very much, but it's something like 0 to 18%. So you can see that even though we are reaching parity in terms of the number of research scholars, percentage of research scholars who are women in mathematics, it is not yet translating to faculty positions. And as you go higher up, more and more women are falling off the academic ladder. This is a very interesting research report. This came out in 2008, and it's a report on women and men in mathematical sciences. And it was published based on questionnaires and data collected by the Department of Mathematics and Statistics at the University of Helsinki. So the scenario that I painted, in a way, I would say India is doing quite well in terms of women in mathematics at the undergraduate level and at the postgraduate level. Even at the research level, we are reaching parity, and I think that is only going to improve. But where we are failing is we are managing to lose women who are maybe completing PhDs, but are not then moving into academia to continue with their maths research and to get faculty positions as yet. So if you look at the graph that is shown here, on the y-axis is the percentage going from 0 to 100. And on the x-axis to the left is starting a basic degree in mathematics. And the red line is tracing what is happening to men, and the blue line is tracing what is happening to women as they go up the academic ladder. So you can see that at the start, when they're doing a basic degree in mathematics, it's 50-50. When you look at the percentage who have completed master's degree, the blue line has gone down to 40% and the red line has gone up to 60%. Then if you look at those who have started PhD studies, even that the blue line goes further down to below 30 and the red line goes above 70. Those who have completed PhD degree, even lower, 20%. Become associate professors, just about 10%. Professor, so in this study, they found that 0% of the faculty were women, of professors were women. Okay, so this is the finding that they had in 2008 at the University of Helsinki. And you must understand that the Scandinavian countries are perceived as those where gender equality is at its best. Okay, so even there is a situation of this sort. And these were the reasons that were highlighted. So reasons for dropout. So why is it that, when at the time of doing a basic degree, there's parity, and as you go higher and higher the academic ladder, there are women dropping out at every stage. So the report said that employment and salary are insecure in academia compared to alternative careers. There's a significant difference in the mathematical self-esteem among men and women. This is something that I have noticed. I've been teaching now for almost 30 years. And I can say that even now in my classroom, the women students, even if they know the answers, will not necessarily put themselves forward and answer them. Whereas the male students, they are not that bothered. They want to give the answer, whether it is right or wrong. So there is a I don't know what to say. Maybe it's the way you're accultured, the way you grow up in any of the countries if you're a woman. But somehow the speaking up and having that mathematic confidence that I can do mathematics and I can speak about it, it tends to be lower amongst women students as compared to the men. Then they also found one of the reasons is teachers approach male and female students differently. Women have a harder time networking and as a result are more isolated. There is a lack of female role models and there is a lack of understanding of non-traditional needs, in particular with respect to family life. One important finding in this report was that amongst women who were successful in academic life, most reported having had good experiences with mathematics in school and having had someone who encouraged their mathematical studies. So the women who had positive experiences studying mathematics and had been mentored to do their mathematics, they were the ones who sort of continued in some sense. And the dropouts, there are, some of the reasons already listed above. So some questions arise naturally. Why will academic positions also show an improving trend? See, so the point is that to get jobs in mathematics, particularly at the university departments and so on, you would be expected to have a PhD. So maybe one of the reasons why currently we just have about 30% of women faculty being, assistant professors of mathematics is maybe because there weren't enough women doing PhDs. And that's already changing. And so maybe the academic positions will show an improving trend, but we'll have to see, 10 years from now, we'll have to look at the data again and see if, whether this, large number of women finishing PhDs affects the number of women who get employed in academia in mathematics, or is there going to be an even larger leaky pipeline? We won't know, and we might not be able to prevent the leaky pipeline or the leaking in the pipeline unless we recognize that it's a problem and start working towards trying to, close those leaks. Will the situation regarding IITs, ISIs, and research institutes improve? In these, intake of women as students as well as faculty is very low. In fact, I looked at we have these NIRF rankings, and I looked at the top 5 institutions and looked at their maths and physics departments in terms of how many research scholars were women students, and they're very low. So if this parity that's coming is not coming out of the top institutions, but more out of institutions which are not in the top range, right? So that itself creates a problem. So when we say that it's a good thing that 46% of the women doing PhDs are women, we also need to see where they are. Are they there in all the institutions? Is every institution, particularly the ones who are being ranked in India amongst the top, are they being able to have parity in terms of even student recruitment at their institutions? Okay, it would be easy to blame just societal pressures, right? But that's true of women, whichever discipline you're doing, right? The same kind of pressures are there if you're doing English or history or biology, but there the percentage of women at all levels is much higher. So why is it that there's a difference with subjects like mathematics, theoretical physics, and so on? One of the problems is that there is clearly a lack of role models for women students. This unfortunate fact is not going to change that easily, though. I mean, it will improve, but it's improving slowly, but it's definitely not. Today there were no role models, and tomorrow suddenly we have a huge number. This is a process, and it will keep improving, and we have to make sure that it stays that way. Nor are the gains always preserved. So there have been departments which have had women professors, but over a period of their retiring, there haven't been replacements. Okay, so this even gains that are made at one point of time sometimes disappear a decade or two later. So that's again an issue which we are facing. And another issue is that, what about leadership positions? I mean, it's not directly related to mathematics, but it comes in the continuum of the academic ladder. And what happens is women who do enter the profession often want to become professors. That's their aspiration. But beyond that, they don't want to take up positions because leadership positions often have a lot of negative connotations, long hours, politics. It's not seen as something worth aspiring for. In United States, for example, if you look at the university leaders, they are largely from law or STEM disciplines. And in any case, STEM disciplines are those where women are underrepresented. So it's like a double whammy. So, even in India, the percentage of women who are leading universities is minuscule. I mean, it's a very, very small percentage. And there is also something called the glass cliff. Women are often, this is different from the glass ceiling. And this is something that I heard of, where you are given the leadership position only when it is an impossible task. So they know you're going to fall off the glass cliff, and then they'll give it to a woman. So that's also something that there's research which talks about this glass cliff phenomenon that women have to face. So there's a belief that since the number of women assistant professors are on the rise, there will eventually be enough women at the professorial level to make a difference at the leadership level. However, while this is necessary, it's not necessarily sufficient to change the women in leadership scenario. And there are both societal and systemic reasons for this. So what is the way forward? I'm now going to move back to women in academia in mathematics. There's an urgent and pressing need to have special programs that support and encourage women students to take up research in science and mathematics. As there are a small proportion of scientists, mathematicians that are female, there should be forums where women scientists, mathematicians can join together to support each other and serve as role models for young women entering the discipline. We also need a lot more research on the situation of women in science and mathematics. And if you look at the professional mathematics societies abroad, whether it's the American Math Society or the Mathematical Association of America, or many European Math Society, many of these places actually encourage research on trying to understand the situation of women in maths. And I think it would be a good idea if in India too, we actually had research studies which look into these things in more detail. A small beginning was made in 2009 during a conference organized in Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. It was called Advances in Mathematics, Focus on Women in Mathematics. Now, one of the reasons why this conference got held was in 2010, India was going to hold the International Congress of Mathematicians. And prior to that, there was supposed to be an International Conference of Women in Mathematics. And so the idea was that we should build up to it and start looking at, see, because if you go to a very discipline-based conferences, then you will find that very few women are there as speakers in such conferences. Because if you narrow the area of mathematics, within that to find, women mathematicians who are at the higher level is tough. So they don't get called as speakers. So the idea was to look at, to have a broad mathematics conference and to look for women who had done well mathematically within their own disciplines, within their own areas, and to have them as speakers. So in this conference, a little over 50% of the speakers were women, and a little over 50% of the audience were also women. So this was a conference in which Parimala and Sujata both gave wonderful talks, and I think it inspired a whole host of young women who were there attending this young women faculty from all across Delhi. And it was also a chance to interact with these women mathematicians who had done so well mathematically. There was also a panel discussion on the topic Women in Mathematics. And if you want to know more about the talks and what was done during that conference, it's still available at that website. As I said, in 2010, ICM was hosted in Hyderabad. And there were several firsts. A woman mathematician, Ingrid Dubashi. So I showed you a picture of Ingrid Dubashi. I just want to say that almost everybody who's attending this talk must have taken pictures using their mobile phone. And they would have seen that the picture is saved as a JPEG file. Ingrid is the person, her mathematics is what gave us JPEG. It's a compression, a way to compress data. And Ingrid is the person who invented JPEG. But Ingrid Dubashi was elected the president of the International Mathematical Union, the biggest body which looks after mathematics across the world. And as I mentioned, we had the ICWM. In fact, Mariam Mirzakhani was one of the invited speakers at ICWM. And already the rumor was that she would get a Fields Medal in the next ICM, which she did, which was in Seoul. So since then we've had, so 2014 was Seoul. Seoul also had a International Conference of Women Mathematicians prior to ICM. And since 2018, so in 2018 in Rio and ICM 2022, which was held online, what the ICWM has now changed to World Meeting of Women in Mathematics. It's called WM Square. And again, in every one of them, we have very interesting discussions. There are good talks, and it's a celebration of women in mathematics. This is a picture of the panel that was there in WM Square in Rio. And you can see this person, second from the right is Riddhi Shah. And on top, there's a picture of the Committee of Women in Mathematics. And the person second from the left is Neela Natraj. And they're both people who have been chairpersons of the Indian Women in Mathematics. I'll tell you a little bit about it later. So the Committee for Women in Mathematics is a committee of the International Mathematical Union. It was created in March 2015. It's the only international committee for women in mathematics, and the website is listed there. And how does CWM function? Of course, it has funds, it encourages activities and many things involving women mathematicians. But how do they disperse the information? So CWM has ambassadors. These are women mathematicians from different countries who are expected to spread the word about CWM activities and about CWM. And from India, there are 5 of us who are ambassadors for CWM. There's Neela Natraj, Riddhi Shah, Sauli Gun, Anisa Choradwala, and myself. And we've all been working to improve the situation of women in mathematics for decades now. And I also want to mention that now there's a Asia Oceania Women in Mathematics Association. It's called AOWM. And Sauli is the first chairperson of this association. And so this association is looking at the Asian countries and the oceanic countries. And the idea is that it will create a forum where women from all these countries can network, learn about each other, and there are ideas about how to improve the situation for women in mathematics across these countries. And Indian Women in Mathematics, this has been, Professor Vijay Kumar also mentioned this. It's sponsored by the National Board of Higher Mathematics. And it's been run in a project mode since 2012. So it held its first conference in Chennai in 2012 at the Institute of Mathematical Sciences. Professor Jaya Iyer looked after the IWM project at that point. And then there was a reconstitution of the IWM Executive Committee in 2016. And I've been privileged to be involved with IWM from the time it started to till March 2023. And so what are the kind of events that IWM does? We have annual conferences, regional workshops, there's visitors program. So women from within India and internationally who have achieved, who have mathematics that they wish to share with others, they travel to both metro and non-metro cities, not non-metro places, to deliver lectures in mathematics. And the idea is that there's a geographical spread and coverage across India through these activities. Particularly now, in the last few years, there's also a winter school for young women, which is aimed at undergraduate women, and they have a week-long training on mathematics. There are also mini courses. These are done online, and all of these are open to everybody. In fact, even in the winter school for young women, from the host institution, the boys who are part of the host institution can also attend it. So this is the web of Indian Women in Mathematics, iwm.org.in. And what I will say is that it provides a wonderful opportunity for young women to present their work and also the atmosphere is, it's very encouraging. People can talk about the kinds of problems they face. And as was said about the Maths Aspirants Group, often solutions are also found. So it makes you feel like you're not alone. You feel part of a community, part of a network, and you get to interact with mathematicians who are well established, and they're always ready to share their ideas and thoughts with the young people. A little bit about other institutions. These are much older and they have a longer history. So there's European Women in Mathematics, and these are all communities and associations which are trying to encourage women to continue with mathematics. There is the Association of Women in Mathematics. In fact, they are now more than 50 years old. And when to celebrate their 50 years, they wanted to bring out a book which looked at women in mathematics. And they also asked associations from across the world if we wanted to contribute. And so Nikita, Amber, Habib, and I wrote a little chapter on Indian women and mathematics. So here the idea was that we wanted to write about how IWM came into the picture and what is the situation of women in mathematics. And this is published by the Association for Women in Mathematics is the primary mover, and if I'm not mistaken, this is from Springer Verlag. And they're also, so I would, for those of you who are interested in looking at what are called intersectional biographies, the Economic and Political Weekly had a special issue on feminist science studies, and 3 women mathematicians and women scientists wrote about their experiences of doing mathematics and science in India in this issue. This is another piece. This was a young investigators meeting held in 2018, and it's a report on a session about sexual harassment in workplace. And this report has been written by Shubha Tole and Shashidhara, LS Shashidhara. They're both eminent scientists of our country, and it's about gender sensitization in Indian science, attitudes and action items, and it was published in Current Science in June 2018. The Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, and the Indian Academy of Sciences have taken several steps to improve the situation of women scientists. And you can check these websites out to see what are all the ways in which they support women scientists. And I would like to also mention Leelavati's Daughters. This was edited by Rohini Godbole and Ram Ramaswamy. And this consists of little short biographies of mathematicians and scientists, women from across India. And finally, there can be no change unless there's an acknowledgement of the problems, prejudices, and biases, and a concerted effort from all concerned to surmount this. This is the bibliography that I have used for the talk. And these are some useful websites. A disclaimer, most photos that I've used are in the public domain. But if anybody wants to use them, please check the copyright and so on. And I will end with a picture of Emmy sitting on a merry-go-round. This is much later in her life. So thank you very much for listening to me patiently.
Thank you, ma'am. It was wonderful. Actually, thank you so much for coming today and inviting Geetha Venkataraman. Was the best thing we had today. So thank you, Vinod sir, for arranging this invitation and the talk, everything. And Professor Geetha Venkataraman ma'am, it was so nice to hear the serious facts, like a beautiful story from you, touching all the histories. And also I was very touched the way you explain the graph. Even someone who is not interested in the complex mathematics, but yeah, interested in mathematics, can also was also were able to understand what you were explaining. So thank you very much for considering the different levels of audience. And I think the audience are also really happy. I can see the reactions and all the messages. And also there are some questions for you. So if you don't mind, can we move to the interactive
Sure,
session?
sure, absolutely.
Okay. Oh yeah, I have two things to ask you, ma'am. So
Sure.
what issue number were you talking about when you said you published the article in the Resonance Journal?
So you want to know the exact reference for it? What is that what you're asking?
No. So you told that you have published in a Resonance Journal. So you told me that, yeah.
But that's on Mariam Mirzakhani. So so this was on the occasion of International Women's Day. I think Resonance wanted to bring out an issue which looked at various women mathematicians and scientists, and they wanted a piece on Mariam Mirzakhani. So Nikita, Riddhi, and I wrote this article about. So we looked at her life, we looked at her mathematics, and put together a short essay which has been written in a way in which, because the resonance is meant for undergraduates, so the idea is that whatever you write, they should understand what you're talking about. So that's something that we did. And so I mean, particularly Mariam's work, she did astounding things. In fact, one of the theorems that she proved, it's called the magic wand theorem. So it's literally like a magic wand, and has resulted in many other problems being solved when it has been used. So it's a nice thing to know. I mean, it's not very technical, but it tries to explain the kind of things that she did.
Thank you so much for telling that, ma'am. And could you also show the last one of the last pages that you showed, the useful websites one more time, please?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Actually, really thankful to you, and thanks from my heart. But now we are moving to the interactive session. So those who have any question or a lovely feedback for the event can now turn on your video and introduce yourself. That's very important. And then you can interact with the chief guest today. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Thank you, ma'am, for the website links. Thank you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, Lakshmi, is it?
Hi, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
My name's Lakshmi. I was actually at the session you took today at Hansraj College on the applications, projects, and of mathematics.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to leave early, so I couldn't meet you, but it was a very wonderful session, ma'am. Like, it actually, explained many things that I've thought throughout whatever I've experienced until I'm in my final year of college in Hansraj College itself. I'm doing BSc Maths Honors. So it was really wonderful. Like, it made me pause and think a lot. And I will look into whatever you've shared today, the websites and multiple resources that we can use. But thank you so much for your time, ma'am. It was a wonderful session.
Thank you. Thank you, Lakshmi.
Thank you, Lakshmi. That was an amazing feedback for the event.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
My name is Jamaka and I am from St. Paul's College, Ernakulam, Kerala. I want to ask you whether are there any government-led initiatives for women in mathematics and how are they helping women in this current era? Thank
Right.
you.
So one is that, as I said, the Indian Women in Mathematics, that initiative is funded by the National Board of Higher Mathematics, which is from the Department of Atomic Energy, Government of India. So what the IWM does as part of its within its aegis is there's a national conference which is held every year. There are opportunities for young women to present their research in these conferences. There's also talks by senior women mathematicians, mostly from India, but sometimes from abroad as well. So you get exposed to wonderful mathematics. And it's a 3-day event, which you stay in the place. And that means you can interact with you can interact with women mathematicians and men who attend the conferences, to talk about your mathematical problems, to talk about other problems that you may face. And we've had many interesting discussions that have come up in these conferences. So there was one in which the issue of child care during conferences was raised. So what do you do if you're a young mother and you want to go to a conference and present your paper, but you don't have anyone to leave? I mean, you don't want to leave your child behind. So issues like that, or issues about, how do you apply for jobs? What happens if you're married and your husband is in one place, you're in another place? All kinds of things come up. So it's a sharing of, the problems that people face in an atmosphere where you spend the whole day doing wonderful mathematics. So it's a celebration of mathematics, and it's also a place where women can share their problems and try and this thing. So this is one kind of thing which the Government of India funds. And of course, the funding for attending this conference, the transport is paid for if you're selected to attend the conference, and your stay and everything, and all that comes from the government funding. Then the Department of Science and Technology itself has, often women take career breaks. So there is a break that you've had, and then you want to come back to research. So they also fund various things for that, various projects and so on. There's also relaxation in terms of age for women in many things. And it's not restricted to mathematics alone. It's for across disciplines. And so, I mean, these are all small measures that have been done by the Government of India. I'm not aware of specific scholarships which are targeted at women students from the Government of India for mathematics. There may be things in general. If someone else knows about that, they can say so. But these are some of the things that are being done.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the wonderful talk. Thank you, Vinod, sir.
Thank you. Sachin has his hand up. Sachin, do you want to ask a question?
So, hi friends, if you have raised your hand, that means you have a question in hand. So, if you have a question, please come forward and take the opportunity.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Drashti.
Hi.
यस मैम आपने बोला कि कॉन्फ्रेंस में पार्टिसिपेट लेने के लिए सिर्फ रिसर्च स्टूडेंट ही अलाउ है.
हाँ, तो ये वाला जो इंडियन विमेन इन मैथ्स वाला कॉन्फ्रेंस है, उसमें मास्टर्स से ऊपर वाले स्टूडेंट्स कंसिडर करते हैं. अंडर ग्रेजुएट्स के लिए नहीं है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे जो टॉक्स होते हैं वो रिसर्च लेवल के टॉक्स होते हैं.
ओके मैम.
So typically the audience is faculty members and research scholars. But if there are, young like PG students, masters ke students who are very interested, they can also apply. But
Okay, ma'am.
and it's open to both women and men. It's not that
Okay.
only women are can only attend in this thing. It's open to everybody.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Anyone else who wants to say something?
Hello, ma'am.
Hello?
Hi, ma'am.
Arya.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, my name is Arya.
Hey. Hi, Arya.
I'm studying in MSc Mathematics in ISA-TVM.
Okay.
Ma'am, this was an actually wonderful talk, ma'am. I really enjoyed this talk, and in this talk, I got many informations, and I have one question to you, ma'am. On the way of your academic, as a woman, do you felt any issues from society or someone else?
Myself, you're asking whether I experienced.
Yes, ma'am.
One thing, I mean, I have to say that I'm not sure I experienced discrimination in any way. I always found that all my teachers, wherever I was studying, they were usually extremely encouraging of me to study further and to go on. They recognized that I was somebody who could do mathematics and wanted to continue with maths, and so they encouraged me. But where I would say, looking back, there were various decisions that I made myself, which come, I think, because there's a tendency for women to be risk averse. This is something that was said in a panel discussion that I had attended, and it was something that Marie-Francois Roy, who was, she's been the president of the French Math Society, she mentioned this, or it came up in the discussion, which is that women tend to take up the first job that they can get. So your focus is on job security rather than trying to find a job which you think is the best for your potential. So I have my own, I do think that the kind of way in which society brings up girl children, and this is true of societies across the world, there is a constant refrain which is, don't do this, sit properly, you can't go out. I mean, you're forever looking at your own security, right? Parents are telling you things so that you stay safe. And they're asking you to moderate your behavior so that you will stay safe. It's not something that is being asked of society, it's being asked of you. And that is done right from the time you're a child. So by the time you've reached adulthood, your tendency is to try and be safe. Whether it is in your mathematics, whether it is in your job search, whether it is in, the way you conduct yourself in life. I think that has definitely influenced many of the decisions that I made And they may not have always been the best decisions for me in terms of maybe doing research in mathematics, right? There may have been many other opportunities. Had I pursued that, I might have contributed a lot more to research in mathematics. But instead, I chose options which were more traditional, more safe, more secure. I went like a homing pigeon back to the same college where I had studied, and I wanted to teach there. I didn't even think about doing a postdoc or after my PhD at Oxford. I went straight and joined St. Stephen's College. Not that I mean, I don't regret it, but what I'm saying is that many times you don't realize why you've made those choices. So I think it's a good idea to be aware of these things. But women have, I mean, there's one other thing I would like to share. I remember I showed you a slide which kind of said that girls are studious and boys have a conceptual understanding. I face that myself. So in Delhi University, when the toppers are invited for a tea with the vice chancellor at that particular time, and I had done well in my university examination as an undergrad in Delhi University, and I was called to that tea. And lo and behold, largely the toppers were women. Okay, there were very few boys in that collection. And you know what the vice chancellor says? He says pretty much the same thing, that girls are studious, they study for their exams, boys have too many distractions. And I remember feeling, very bugged at this thought that the only reason why there are so many women toppers is not because we may genuinely be good at that subject, but because of the fact that, we've studied hard for the exam and the boys have, they're too distracted. I mean, it felt to me not right that a vice chancellor makes a comment like that. Maybe it was meant to be a joke, but as a young woman student at that point, you didn't necessarily appreciate it, or you felt that this is not something that should be have said in that way. And another incident which one of my students experienced, undergrad student, this must be about 5-10 years ago. She and 2 other boys in her class were doing a project with an IIT professor over the summer. And a student from the BTech computer science in that particular IIT also had joined in with that professor to do the project. And in the discussions that they had, he realized that the girl was the topper. She was doing best the class in this thing. And apparently, she told me this, ma'am, you know what that boy said? He said, girl or topper. That was his reaction. And her thing was, this is a boy who is doing a BTech in computer science, and her idea was, this is really bright guy. And he also seemed to have this notion that girls can't do maths, or how come they are doing better than the boys. Yeah, Ravi Kumar sorry, Arya, did you have anything else? Yeah. So I think, see, these are things which are going to change, and I think they'll change for the better. But we must be aware of these things and challenge them, I think, if they come up. Someone had a question in the chat. Ravi Kumar, my question, Mariam ma'am used to say that she was a slow mathematician. She also said she faced difficulties in her childhood, such as war, etc. You think economic well-being is a necessary condition, because well-off people often fall prey to social media and non-mathematical things, as it has become a fashion for many that maths is tough. Then what is the solution? What has the well-being family has a role for doing mathematics. See, I mean, I think there are phases that society goes through. There was a time when, at least when I was in school, the idea was that all the bright students did science. And almost the conclusion that was drawn was if you didn't do science, you were not bright, which is logically not correct. But I think over the years, it's true that people, sort of feel maths is difficult. And I think that starts happening at the school level itself. But having said that, I don't know if it has it. I don't know. I don't have enough data or enough things where I can say that if you come from a certain economically well-to-do class, then you may drop out of mathematics. I don't think I can say that. But I will definitely say that I think many students who could possibly do mathematics decide to give up on mathematics because they feel ki, a lot of effort will go into studying mathematics. They have to work a lot harder if they're doing mathematics. And therefore, they tend to give up on mathematics. And that, I think, is a problem that we should look into, particularly experiences that students face while doing mathematics at school. Unnati, you want to ask a question? Your hand is up.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Unnati.
First of all, I would like to say that the session was really amazing. I got to know about very female mathematicians, which I didn't already know about, and that was really something that I enjoyed. And all the steps that have been taken by the government and all the mathematical societies were also interesting to know. I want to ask a question. Ma'am, what is that one message that you'd like to give to all the females or all the female mathematicians or all the girls that are watching you right now? What is the one message that you'd like to give to us to continue in this field and to do better in maths?
Yeah, so I mean, I think those who, it's not so much my message, it's a message that mathematics itself gives, right? The moment you have experienced that joy when you have solved a problem in mathematics, I think everyone who's done mathematics would have experienced it at some point and keep experiencing it. And I think that passion which maths instills in you, the joy it instills in you when you are able to do something which you think is, I mean, it's beautiful, really. And I think your brain recognizes that what you've done is beautiful. I would say continue with it. You might have to face challenges, but then, I mean, ideally, the challenges that one faces should not have to do with whether you're a woman or a man. They should be similar. But it'll take some time for us to reach that. I mean, it's a very simple thing that I've heard so many women I've spoken to who are doing mathematics, they tell me. So there was a panel discussion that I was on in Bombay, and one of the women in the audience mentioned that she was doing her PhD after her marriage. And she said she had to wake up at 3 in the morning and she would get 2 hours to do her research, because after that the household duties would take over, and then she was also working. So it's very rare that you would find a man who's doing a PhD having to face a situation of this sort. But the unfortunate thing is that when it comes to promotions or when it comes to jobs, there's nothing that is taken into account in terms of the extra mile that many of these women have had to go through to reach where they are. And I don't know, I don't have answers on how that can be taken into account, but somewhere we do need to acknowledge that there are, there are so many pressures that women face, and they're being able to do maths. I would say it's almost like it's a refuge in a sense. If you're able to do your maths, you can sometimes shut yourself out of all the other problems that you face, and you feel at least, okay, here is something that I can actually do. But women do face a lot of challenges and pressures. But I would say keep at it. The rewards are wonderful, and the moment you do something in maths which is really nice and you enjoy it, that itself is the biggest reward, much more than any promotions that you might get, or any, of course, when you publish the paper, then you feel even happier. But at the first level, even if it's a small problem which you have solved, the kind of joy that you get from that is really great.
Thank you so much, ma'am, again.
You're
So, all right. So, do we have any other questions for the interactive session?
Hello, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Okay, maybe Sneha first and then Gayatri.
Yeah,
is that
ma'am.
okay?
Ma'am, I'm Sneha, MSc first year student from ICTVM. This session was very, I think, this is the first time I attend some mathematical session. Like, it was very inspiring. I know the mathematical models. I was not knowing that there are Emmy Noether and Mariam Mirza, like these mathematical women, some models in women that I know the first time. So it was a wonderful session, and thank you, ma'am. And you have shared so personal experiences.
Yeah, I think all of us have them. I'm sure every one of you has some story that you can talk about. But, the thing is that we have to recognize that there are problems. And I think it's not enough for just women to recognize that there are problems. I think it's for all of us, the entire community, to know and to be able to help and encourage women students, particularly if they're suffering from, often there's parental pressure that they won't send them for a workshop outside of their own city. I've had to speak to parents of students to encourage them, saying, no, it's safe. There won't be any problem. You can send your daughter for the workshop and so on. So at every stage, I think a helping hand, if it is given, whether it is by a senior woman or a man, it would go a long way. I think that's important. So
yeah, ma'am. I have some personal experiences. Like, I am from UP, a small village. So in my undergraduate, when I am from a small village. So first time when I entered in college, it was in city. So first time my father was denied to go in city and live for the college in undergraduate. Then for the whole graduation time, I used to go the college every day, 25 kilometers from home to college, and I have to do some household things also, and it was like my life was like some housewife kind of. Then I,
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I mean, it must have been so. Congratulations that you have, you know, come through all of it, and you're doing your masters now. So
yeah,
well done. So yeah, no, see, this is. I mean, I think when I think someone asked whether I've had problems or suffered this, I cannot relate. I mean, I cannot tell. I've had a largely, you know, a life where I did not have to go through such issues, right? But they exist. And the point is that if we recognize that they exist and somehow we are able to make sure that no girl who wants to do mathematics is stopped from doing mathematics, we would have come a very long way. So all the best, Sneha, and I hope you continue to in mathematics and continue to reach higher levels in mathematics. So
thank you, ma'am.
you're welcome. Gayatri, you had a question?
Yes, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. I'm Gayatri.
Hi.
I'm doing MSc Mathematics from NIT Calicut. The talk was really good, and the topic was really interesting and inspiring. And you have shared a lot of new information. Thank you so much for spending this much time for us, and mainly thank you so much for being an inspiration. And a question that I want to ask is there anything that only a women mathematician can do?
Have a baby. No, I mean, see, I was just joking, but I mean, the point is that to me, the way I think about it is that um, as mathematics should be for anybody who wants to do it, right? But currently the situation is that girls, particularly when they want to do mathematics, are not necessarily finding as much encouragement as they should. And that is the problem in my mind. We should have a situation where no potential to do maths is lost. And we are losing out on so many bright women for some reason or the other, right? So I think in that sense, I feel that it's the duty of everybody involved to try and prevent it. In terms of, is there some kind of mathematics that only women can do? I don't think so. I think mathematics of all sorts can be done by anybody. There I don't necessarily see that there are more women in algebra or more in analysis or, you know, less in algebraic geometry, or I mean, at least I haven't seen it. And if one wants to make a statement like that, one would have to look at the data far more carefully, you know, about that. So to answer your question, is there something that only women mathematicians can do? Not that I know of, I would say. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Geetha ma'am, for your patience and answering all the questions and being so lovely in this evening. Now, and I like to say hats off to Sneha, who shared her story, and for being this much persuasive and so inspirational to everyone who is hearing her story. Very much. And I think, Vinod sir, we should make another even like exclusively for women in mathematics and share such little stories and inspire
Yeah,
each other.
that would be very nice. You know, I
Because
mean,
everybody has a story, like
everybody
Geetha ma'am
has
was
a
saying.
story.
Yeah, okay, that's wonderful. And with that said, and we are moving to the final vote of thanks. So I like to welcome Shikha Kumari from Birla Institute of Technology, Mesra, Jharkhand, to deliver the official vote of thanks for our event today.
Thank you, Arjuna. Good evening, all. As we conclude this enlightening Pi Day celebration to the 11th national webinar, I, Shikha Kumari, on behalf of the organizing committee, would like to convey deep regards and hearty thanks to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Geetha Venkataraman from the School of Liberal Studies, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Delhi. Today, her insightful presentation have enriched our understanding of the world of mathematics, especially in terms of women mathematicians. The session was really full of motivation, inspiration, and it seems as if one of our family member is guiding us. So thank you so much, ma'am, for such a wonderful session. I would also like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Emeritus Professor Ambed Vijay Kumar, CUSAT, Kerala, for introducing the speaker and gracing us with his presence. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Vinod Kumar, Associate Professor, MG College, Kerala, Dr. Bijumon's Associate Professor, MG College, Kerala, the host of this webinar, Ms. Arjuna, and the whole organizing committee for their meticulous planning, tireless effort, and dedication in ensuring the smooth execution of this webinar. To our participation, thank you for your active engagement. Thank you once again to everyone who has been a part of this event. Your collective effort have made this celebration a resounding success. I wish you all continued success in your future endeavors. Thank you so much. Thank you.